After last night's results, the decision facing all Americans could not be more clear. We have a choice between communism and common sense. Does that make sense to you? Common sense. It's common sense or communism. And, you take a look back 1,000 years. It hasn't worked. If it worked, we'd be using it, I guess, but it hasn't worked.
I think President Trump might be onto something there. Communism thing, not as popular as the communists had originally hoped. And that's why when it irritated people, they murdered about 100 million of them. But might work this time. That's what they keep saying. They keep hoping, and then they murder several million more people. The world moves on. We have always been insulated from that until the Democrat Party was taken over by people that gingerly call themselves socialist. Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, known as Lenin more commonly, famously said the goal of socialism is communism. Goal of communism is slavery, and they've got to kill a lot of people and all that stuff. But they're making a big comeback. That's the plan, anyway. A very happy and good Thursday to you, and welcome back once again. We are at 888-630-9625. I got to tell you, our world is not, we're not as smart as we used to be. As Western civilization, not as smart as we used to be. We've forgotten all about the things like the 20th century. I try to keep a handle on recent history. The 20th century, forgotten all about the rise of communism, socialism. It was going to be the best thing for everyone, and then it wasn't. And we're just going to erase our memory banks and start over again. Womp, womp, womp. What was that Keanu Reeves movie, The Devil's Advocate, right? The Devil's Advocate, where they keep trying the same thing. The devil keeps trying the same thing over and over again, and at the end, it's a big start over. It's not an easy movie to watch, but it's kind of interesting because it's like communism. And I remember watching the movie and thinking, that's like communism. Satan keeps killing everybody and stealing everything and ruining everybody's lives. And then when it goes south, when it goes the wrong way, then boop, he starts all over again just because he's got that magic Satan thing. And the Democrat Party, they're starting over with communism and socialism, and they're repackaging and selling it all over again like we can start over again, like the movie The Devil's Advocate. If you've ever seen that movie, you might know what I'm talking about. You probably could have seen the movie and not even remember at this point where it went. But that's not important. It is important, but it's what the Democrats are doing, and it is a nutty, nutty place. One of the funniest stories of the day, I think, and this made me laugh out loud. Michael Piercy made me aware of this when I walked in this morning. It turns out at Louvre, the French museum. There's a museum in France. It's in Paris, and it's an old palace for the French royal family and all of that. And then they got guillotines and put them out in front of the place and chopped everybody's heads off because their revolution was not as cool as our revolution, not by a long shot. But they have the Louvre, and then I.M. Pei, the Chinese-American architect and designer. He put those glass pyramids in front of the Louvre, just to, bring it up to the 21st century, the 20th century anyway, when those went in. And there's an I.M. Pei house not far from this radio station. The only I.M. Pei house in Washington, D.C., pretty close to this radio station, but that's not important. I'm not talking about architecture. Okay, I'm talking about architecture. But they just got robbed more than $100 million in jewels. They were robbed, right? And it turns out that we have now learned kind of a funny detail about the robbery, because that's what's not funny about robbing $100 million in crown jewels, Napoleonic crown jewels from the Louvre, the museum in Paris. Well, it turns out they've got a very advanced security system, there. And as part of the security system, you see, there is an electronic touchpad thing, like when you walk into your house. If you have a security thing, you got to do the touchpad, and your password is password, so you punch in password, and then you're okay, because it's your security system, and you don't need to have, it's not the Louvre, you got international rings of thieves, burglars trying to get into your house. You can just use 1, 2, 3, 4 as your password, and everything's fine. you can use the word password as your password. Well, at La Louvre, that's what they call it in France, the password to the Louvre's surveillance and security system, the password, you can't say is because I think they changed it in the last couple of days, but through the robbery, the password for their security system was Louvre. Louvre, Louvre, which is the name of the museum. And they got hundreds of millions of dollars worth of jewels in there. And it turns out the Louvre used mind-blowingly weak password for core security system ahead of $102 million jewel heist. And the headline, the first line in the New York Post today, it might as well have been password. So then they got that in quotation marks. A probe into the broad daylight heist at La Louvre revealed that the world-renowned museum had used a mind-bogglingly weak password for its core security system, according to reports. France's National Cybersecurity Agency was able to access a server managing the museum's video surveillance using the ridiculously easy password Louvre. Louvre, Louvre. Now, if I had a security system at home, today I would switch my password to Louvre. I would think, if I had a fancy with where you punch in a thing like that, I'd say, hey, sweetie pie, honey bunch, our new password is Louvre. We're going to use Louvre from now on. I like to say Louvre, even though it's Louvre. I know you pronounce it Louvre. The R-E, they're going to be silent like that, but Louvre, why not?
So the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the stupidest combination I ever heard in my life. That's the kind of thing an idiot would have on his luggage.
Yes. Mel Brooks in Spaceballs, and that honestly, and at the Louvre, the password for their obviously inadequate security system, the password is Louvre, and you have to say it with a French accent if you're going to get the password correct. Isn't that amazing? That is, somebody might lose their job over that, but then again, it's France. Maybe not. They might just surrender to the Germans and move on, something like that. Something they have a long history of doing, long history. So we've got a lot of news to get to. I just wanted to share that because it was the most ridiculous story of the morning, I think. Just amazing. But we've got a lot going on. Trump aides foul-mouthed emails to journalists laid bare. The Daily Beast is very angry. That's the headline from the Daily Beast. Trump aides, quote, foul-mouthed, end quote, emails to journalists laid bare. How is that laid bare? And here they are. They're probably, I don't know if they're laid bare, cursing out reporters as a great American tradition. Everybody loves to curse out reporters. Reporters are cursed out in grocery stores and from the car next to them in traffic in Washington. Reporters are cursed out all the time, and rightly so. But that's kind of fun. Also, by the way, President Trump, there was a story a while back that there's an update now. Back on October 10th. So, now it's November 6th. And the headline was, Trump announces deal with pharma giant. You can't, there's too many letters to say pharmaceutical giant. You have to say pharma because the Democrats call it big pharma. Trump announces deal with pharma giant AstraZeneca to lower drug prices. Oh, sure, want to lower drug price. The Democrats talk about everything all the time, and then they make everything more expensive because they're basically communists. President Trump, this is, again, last month, President Trump on Friday, a month ago, announced that a second pharmaceutical giant, AstraZeneca, has agreed to lower U.S. drug prices. The United Kingdom-based drug maker will lower prices for drugs sold to Medicaid. That's a big buyer right there. The federal state health insurance program for low-income families. The company also will sell medications via, that's by way of a new website, Trump RX, which will facilitate direct-to-consumer sales of drugs next year. Next year is coming up faster and faster. It's about 7 weeks until next year. On September 30th, Trump announced a similar most favored nation agreement with Pfizer to sell medications through Medicaid at lower prices. How about that? President Trump is lowering the price of drugs. The Democrats just scream and yell and set cop cars on fire and attack judges and things over high drug prices. And they say, oh, we're going to make everything more affordable. It's the Affordable Care Act. And even the Washington Post had to confess, and they didn't have to be waterboarded, but it would have been better if they had been waterboarded, that the Affordable Care Act was never actually affordable. That's because they're commies, and they don't know capitalism, and they break everything. But during last week's announcement, USA Today wrote back then, Trump said Pfizer medications introduced to the U.S. market will be sold at prices that are no greater than those of comparable countries, where they're very often subsidized up the yin-yang, and the Democrats are trying to do that here because they're socialists, right? The agreement follows an executive order Trump signed in March that instituted a most favored nation policy for drug pricing. So this is great, and Trump has pressured drug makers to return drug manufacturing to the United States of America under the threat of 100% tariff on brand-name drugs imported to the United States. Pharmaceutical companies that have already broken ground on building a U.S. manufacturing plant will be exempt from the tariffs. See, there you go. And on Thursday, AstraZeneca held a groundbreaking ceremony for a $4.5 billion drug manufacturing facility in Charlottesville, Virginia. The factory, which will make ingredients for weight loss, blood pressure, cholesterol, and cancer medications. Those, I think, are all very popular medications, aren't they? You got blood pressure, cholesterol, weight loss, that's very popular, and cancer. You don't want that. So, they got to create 600 jobs, according to them. Other drug makers, such as Eli Lilly and Roche, have announced new major domestic drug manufacturing facilities in the United States of America. Joined by AstraZeneca CEO Pascal Seurat during Friday's announcement, Trump said that the tariffs influenced the drug makers' decision to expand U.S. manufacturing. And that's I think, what we'd call a good thing. Now, to add to this from last month, and that was kind of a big deal, but the news media did make a big deal out of it because it might make Trump look good and might be what people want, and the news media wants to make sure nobody hears that. But the president is having an event at the White House today. Today, the president is having an event at the White House with drug manufacturers to announce yet more reductions in drug prices across the United States, and it's kind of a big deal. I'm not a major pharmaceutical. I try not to, consume more pharmaceuticals than I need. But the thing is, yesterday the White House announced Trump, Eli Lilly to announce weight loss drug price cuts on Thursday. That's today. So the President of the United States is, again, and these are these very popular weight loss drugs. U.S. President Donald Trump on Thursday is expected to announce a deal with officials from Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, big pharmaceutical companies, on cutting the price of weight loss drugs, in some cases to $150 a month, CBS News reported on Wednesday, citing sources. Now, that's kind of a big deal, as I understand it, because a lot of people are taking it very, very seriously. And I also have a gigantic new announcement from you. I have friends everywhere. My tentacles are everywhere, including in newsrooms. And it turns out that Nancy Pelosi has announced that she will not seek re-election. Nancy Pelosi, she's rich enough, as it turns out, and she will not seek re-election to Congress after nearly 40 years. Seems like more than 40 years, doesn't it? After nearly 40 years in Washington politics. And even CNN fake news is reporting this now. My friend John Matthews, newsman, is reporting this now. Nancy Pelosi, the first and only female Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, who cares, and one of the most powerful figures in Democratic Party politics for decades, has announced she will not seek re-election. This was rumored a week ago, and then it kind of petered out. I say to my colleagues in the House all the time, no matter what title they had bestowed upon me, not them, but me, Speaker, Leader, Whip, She likes whip best. Her husband likes whip best, too. She is known at home as the Hammer. That's kind of a different thing. But Nancy Pelosi announcing that she will not be running for re-election, said there has been no greater honor for me than to stand on the House floor and say, I speak for the people of San Francisco. Well, when you're the Speaker of the House, you're supposed to speak, for more people than that. She still doesn't understand the job. It's a good thing that she's losing and leaving. Nancy Pelosi announces she will not seek re-election to Congress after nearly 40 years in Washington. Kind of a big deal. So that means, gosh, who's gonna be the Democrat? It's gonna be Hakeem. He hates the Jewish people and America and capitalism and Israel, of course. Hakeem Jeffries, the new lead Democrat in the House. He's not a good man. But Nancy Pelosi wasn't a good woman either. So, hey, Nancy, good riddance. You can't leave soon enough.
Giving them the ability to cry wolf in a crowded theater.
I've got Nancy Pelosi posted a video of herself. I want to share with you the abbreviated version of what the nitwit said. She's posted a video saying, I'm not going to run for re-election. And it's 5 minutes and 50 seconds long. It might as well be 5 hours long. But we actually went through it, and she gets to the point with about 1 minute left, and we'll share that 1 minute with you coming up. Nobody really wants to hear too much from her, let's be honest, and except maybe on Stock Tips. Stock Tips, she's very, very popular. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go. So I'm going to get back to Nancy Pelosi, and we've got a lot going on, President Trump, and rule changes to the Senate filibuster being proposed. I've got that coming up. Let's go to Greg calling from Rockville, Maryland. Oh, Gregory, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris. Love the show.
Hey,
Thanks
Greg.
for taking my call.
You betcha.
Hey, real quick.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I wanted to say real quick, with Nancy Pelosi, good riddance. Bye, Nancy. As you've mentioned many times, the debt has exploded under this woman. I mean, she's been there forever. She's a fossil. Her father was the mayor of Baltimore, and I just looked it up while I was waiting to get on with you. If you look it up on New York Post in 2017, they had a story about how he commemorated a Confederate statue in Baltimore. I believe that statue was actually ripped down during the George Floyd riots and thrown into the harbor. So her father was, a creep, and her brother was the mayor of Baltimore too, and was mired in corruption when he was there too. Real quick about New York, I wanted to say, do you think if Andrew Cuomo looks like John F. Kennedy Jr., do you think he would have gotten elected? Because I think that these Democrats, they're all about looks.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, John F. Kennedy would be elected anywhere, Jr.
Sometimes I too am a Catholic.
Never talks about her advances, anything that the Catholic Church might agree with, but never mind that. The organ harvest is more important, and of course, transgender children, very important to the Democrat Party. Coming to Virginia because they've got a governor and a lieutenant governor, and they've got this lunatic. Speaking of which, did you see Jay Jones, the new chief law enforcement officer of the Commonwealth of Virginia? Video has emerged of him trying to kick a dog. See this? And he's trying to, a middle-aged woman walking with her dog on a leash, and it's a little dog, ankle high. And here is the Democrat running for Attorney General of Virginia. And I think it was at the polling place on Election Day. And he came out, and this woman is walking by with her little dog, her little furry dog on a leash. And there's Jay Jones, and he sees the dog, and he tries to punt the dog. It wasn't quite a punt, but he tried to kick the dog with his wingtip shoes and tried to kick him in the ribs from the side. And the dog started to get away, and the dog's looking at him like, what are you doing? And so he missed the kick because he's not well coordinated. And he bent over, and with his left hand, he grabbed the side of the dog and flung the dog off to the side. And then he pulled out a small pistol, and he only had 2 bullets. So he put 2 bullets through his head while he was yelling the name of a Republican leader in the House of Representatives in Richmond. These people. He's the incoming Democrat, and he did try to kick the dog, and then they're lying about it. And I found a fact checker that's lying about it today too, because that's what fact checkers do. They're Democrats, and so they lie. So many of them. You have Democrat fact checkers, and they lie about everything. That's the way they see their role in the world. All right, now speaking of liars, let's get to Nancy Pelosi, because we learned not so long ago, really just minutes ago, that Nancy Pelosi has announced, and she posted a video of herself, naturally, with no stock tips included, meaning she's worthless to all of us. A 5-minute, 50-second video. It's like, politically, it's like Gone with the Wind. It just goes on and on and on. And if you were to go, and I wouldn't recommend it, if you were to go 4 minutes and 50 seconds into the 5-minute, 50-second video, you would see, if you're watching the video, you would hear, if you're listening to the audio, Nancy Pelosi saying this.
I have truly loved serving as your voice in Congress.
There's music.
And I've always honored the Song of St. Francis.
No, you haven't.
It would make me an instrument of thy peace.
Oh,
the
right.
anthem of our city.
An instrument of our
That
peace.
is why I want you, my fellow San Franciscans,
riots.
to be the first to know. I will not be seeking re-election to Congress.
They'll be the first to know.
With a grateful heart, I look forward to my final year of service as your proud representative.
She lies in there. She's San Francisco, not the first to know. Videos posted online. Everybody's the first to know. That's how that works now. And what was the first one? She talks about how she's a fake Catholic and, all this stuff. She lies right to the bitter end. I got to say, in the end, 100 years from now, her tombstone will be a lie. There's going to be something about her tombstone that'll have to be a lie. Now, we were checking this out this morning, and we started talking. It was like she's talking about how she's an instrument of peace, except for all the riots in San Francisco and the looting, and you can't go anywhere, and all the dead bodies on the sidewalk, and the homeless, transgender, mentally ill people who are collecting welfare every month. If they fall into one of these 135 different gender categories, But Nancy Pelosi, she is a harbinger of peace.
I have truly loved serving as your voice in Congress. And I've always honored the Song of St. Francis.
You have?
It would make me an instrument of thy peace, the anthem of our city.
And now we go live to San Francisco.
You, my fellow San Franciscans, to be the first to know. I will not be seeking re-election to Congress.
You will not be seeking re-election. The crowd went wild.
Year of service as your proud representative.
The crowd went absolutely wild when they heard that Nancy Pelosi would not be seeking re-election to Congress. And the Song of St. Francis, she's a messenger of peace. And then, they looted every drugstore and every stores and corporate headquarters, flee San Francisco. Now they're all fleeing New York, by the way, and headed to Texas and to Florida. And we had a great caller yesterday saying they should have checkpoints at the borders of Florida and Texas to keep the New Yorkers out that are fleeing. But in Miami, it turns out, and the mayor there, who's great, Mayor Suarez, he said, we're expecting our real estate values to skyrocket like electricity costs in New Jersey because all the New Yorkers are going to be fleeing New York, coming down to Miami. People with millions and millions of dollars want to get oceanfront condos in Miami now. So if you own an oceanfront condo in Miami, the value of your condo is probably about to double because all these New Yorkers are fleeing there. But back to Nancy Pelosi. I say to my colleagues in the House all of the time, no matter what title they had bestowed upon me, Speaker, Leader, Whip, there has been no greater honor for me than to stand on the House floor and say, I speak for the people of San Francisco. And then they play Duck, Duck, Goose, which is kind of a weird thing to do, but that's who they are. That's what they do. They are Abby Normal. Abby Normal, huge time. Aren't they great? Yes, sir. And with a grateful heart, she says, a very wealthy, she's bought a lot of gold a year ago, I'm thinking. She probably bought a lot of gold a year ago. I look forward to my final year of service. Is that what it is? As your proud representative. That's a Go Proud. She's got the proud, because that's San Francisco. That's a Pride Week every week. As we go forward, my message to the city I love is this. San Francisco, know your power. They're always talking about it. It's always about, and then like buy a lot of ammo. What is it? Know your power. We have made history. We have made progress. Yeah, if you're like an advocate for more homeless people, you've made a lot of progress. They're not homeless advocates, unless you mean that they advocate more homelessness, which they're pretty good at. We have always led the way, into the abyss, into loony land, and now we must continue to do so by remaining full participants in our democracy and fight for the American ideals we hold dear. That's Americans don't hold those ideals dear, but the left, they do.
This is Armageddon.
Nancy Pelosi announcing that she is leaving and not coming back. How about that? That's just wonderful. I think that's great.
I like to be close to the children.
She does, but you should definitely keep her away from the children because she shouldn't be anywhere close to them.
You're scaring the children.
You know, they're always talking about the children, aren't they? And then really all they do is harvest the organs. Just amazing. Yes, sir. Yeah, speaking of which, last night, here's the headline from her, a statement from her, Speaker Emerita. Remember when she lost the speakership, I immediately said, now the news media is going to start calling her Speaker Emeritus or Speaker Emerita. And sure enough, a day later, they did exactly that. They're so easy to predict. But Nancy Pelosi on Facebook said, last night, America sent a clear message talking about the off-year elections, the Tuesday election. They're sick of Republicans who shut down government, And you might say shut down the government, but she said who shut down government. And the Democrats, of course, shut down the government. Chuck Schumer and the Republicans have voted, 14 or 15 times to reopen the government. The Democrats have voted 14 or 15 times to shut down the government and drove up costs. I remember Joe Biden's inflation rate was 9.1% at its peak. From health care to groceries. I'm sorry, they want another $1.5 trillion to bail out Obamacare again. And the Washington Post admitted that the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, was never actually affordable. The Washington Post admitted that. But they lied to us for 15 years before they got around to that one. Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, you're going to make it more affordable for everybody. Made it more expensive for everybody because they're the left, and they produce the opposite of the intended results every time. She said, Democrats have been ready to reopen the government all along. See, she lies in every sentence she utters. Well, they've been afforded the opportunity 15 times to reopen the government, and 15 times they voted to shut the government down. So here she is lying like a rug over here. They've been ready to reopen the government all along. It's past time for Republicans to listen to their constituents and join us. The lies are so big that Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propagandist, would blush at the lies that the Democrat Party tells. Isn't it amazing?
Did I hear you correctly say that perhaps he was influenced by Goebbels?
Might have been Goebbels, could have been Goebbels. Nancy Pelosi is 85 years old. She was born March 26th of 1940 in Baltimore, Maryland. And as our last brilliant caller said, it's true. Her father was the corrupt mayor of Baltimore. And they love, they would be out there because they're Democrats, the slavery statues that they praise and stuff. That's their legacy. Isn't that amazing? The New York Times is very sad. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi will retire from Congress. Again, we talked about this a week ago because it surfaced as a rumor a week ago. And then they shot it down, which is another lie because they knew they were going to do this a week later. And you ask them, hey, there's a rumor flying around that Nancy Pelosi is going to not run for re-election. And they lied and they lied and they lied. And they said, oh, no, that's not true. That's a false rumor. She's absolutely going to run for re-election. And then hours later, days later, whatever, 72 hours later, they come out and they say, oh, yeah, did I mention that I'm not going to run for re-election and I'm retiring from Congress? But you just lied to us 72 hours ago that was a false rumor. Sure. That's it. And now here we are, National Panhandler Radio. Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi will not seek re-election. Honestly. You people. I'm going to have to look up because I looked up Chuck Schumer when he came to first the House of Representatives from New York before he went to the Senate from New York. When he got to Washington, the national debt was below $1 trillion. It It was $990 billion or something when Chuck Schumer was sworn in as a member of the House of Representatives. Now it's $37.5 trillion. I blame every nickel of it on Chuck Schumer. But Nancy Pelosi shares a lot of the blame, too. Historic career, 20 terms in the House of Representatives. They're 2 years apiece. So for Democrats trying to follow along, that'd be 40 years. That'd be 40 years, you see. And what was the national debt 40 years ago when Nancy Pelosi came to Congress? Because, I'm telling you, it's so good to be a Democrat. None of this stuff ever comes up because the news media is overwhelmingly a Democrat Party front group. Isn't that true? Yes, it is. All right, Michael, let's go back to the telephones. And we got sidetracked a little bit there because Pelosi making a big announcement. And it's good. She should leave. You know what? Hakeem Jeffries should leave, too. He should step down on account of anti-Semitism. His own, I'm talking about here. But I've got President Trump today. He spoke to Brett Baer, the president did an interview. Talked about Zohran Mamdani and talked about all kinds of crazy. We got Bernie Sanders. I got Bernie Sanders for you. Kind of a funny moment. A reporter asked him a question. I got a nice immigrant lady talking about America and the importance of America that I want to share with you coming up as well. We've got a lot of news, and of course the news breaks all day long. Also, they expanded arrests in the Michigan radical Islamic ISIS-inspired terror plot where they're going to attack gay bars with rifles and shoot everybody in the gay bars on account of Islam. You know, it's like that. And I've got an update. They've made more arrests in that. Let's go to the telephones in the meantime, Michael. Let's go to Homer calling from Springfield, Virginia. Homer, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Good morning, Chris.
Hey, Homer.
Did the Democrats have a plan or, let's say, a scheme to put Nancy's daughter into her seat, with or without an election, of course? Or if that doesn't happen, is she going to get her stock information from Katie Porter and Adam Schiff?
Katie Porter and Adam Schiffless. You know, Katie Porter is one of our favorite members of Congress, now a former member of the House of Representatives, but she's the one that taught her 9-year-old daughter that the earth is on fire and we're all going to die soon, and taught her 9-year-old daughter that should make her angry.
I told my 9-year-old daughter that I was going to be speaking with you, and I said, what do you think about climate change? And she said, the earth is on fire and we're all going to die soon. And I asked her how that made her feel, and she said it made her feel angry. And
then she firebombed a synagogue because the Democrats are, the Socialist Workers Party of America today. Is she going to, I got to say, her daughter, Homer, that you're talking about, has made millions of dollars from HBO to do documentary films on things like her mother. And you may remember, I'm sure you do, Homer, that Alexandria, the daughter of Nancy Pelosi, Alexandra Pelosi, she was with Nancy Pelosi on January 6th making video and didn't ask her, hey, Mom, why didn't you offer up the National Guard when it was offered to you 5 different times? Because I got it, yeah, and her daughter now is a 55-year-old woman, and she makes a lot of money from HBO. They own CNN, same company, big-time Warner thing, and they paid her lots and lots of money to make a documentary film about her mother. And you're right, they do pass on like Grijalva, Raul Grijalva, the Democrat from Texas, member of the House. He died last year. And did you see this, Homer? They've given the seat to his daughter.
Yes.
That's what they do, isn't it?
That's what they do. You're correct.
They are a third world country living among us. Reminds me of Bong Bong, in the Philippines when Ferdinand Marcos died, and his son was named Bong Bong. I love the name Bong Bong. I wish that I had been named Bong Bong when I was a kid. I think it'd be more fun. Bong Bong. I'd be Bong Bong Orteg. That'd be me with my childhood name. Yeah, but Bong Bong took over in the Philippines. Ferdinand Marcos Jr., a.k.a. Bong Bong. And Raul Grijalva's daughter, Democrat House member from Texas, he died very sadly, God bless. and his daughter. The Democrat Party is like, hey, let's give the House seat to his daughter. They're talking about running Chelsea Clinton for office, too. Normally you've got to be better looking than Webb Hubble to be elected to anything, but who can say? Homer, fun thought. Thank you for calling in.
China is one of the freest societies in the world.
Let's go back to the telephones. I have President Trump audio on a range of topics. We've got people fleeing New York, going to places like Miami, Florida, because Mamdani the commie is coming. But right now, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Tom calling from California, which used to be such a great state. Tom, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Morning, Chris.
Hey, Tom.
Listen, I just want to say something, and it's about the silly election that was the other day.
Uh-huh.
I've heard a lot of people, my son included, all complaining about how bad this election was.
Uh-huh.
But I've got news for you. This election was nothing. There was not one election that was held the other day that was a surprise to anybody. And I've been voting since 1972. Uh-huh. When I voted for Dick Nixon the first time. And I am not concerned about any of the elections from Tuesday whatsoever. It was going to be a stroke of luck if New Jersey went to a Republican governor.
Right.
And an even bigger stroke of luck if Virginia went to the black lady because Obama endorsed a white woman. Right. And I'm sorry, I just don't care about what New York City does, Chris.
Yeah.
It's just, New York City is nuts, and they're more kookier than the state of California is. And as far as this election in California went, he thinks he did something great by what he did, but he certainly did not do anything of the kind.
Yeah, to redistrict and steal as many. Swalwell said they could get 7 House seats out of it, and that's what they're shooting for. They're drunk with power, and they are the third world.